Got to go home and get some food, and then I'll come back to jam with this fellow. Looking forward to it.
I need my fiddling pen.
Yeah.
Okay, so
he's got a sexy setup. Look at the mess of my place, you know. Anyway.
And if both of you feel free to retweet, you should have the tag in your profile.
I'll do it right now. So what you want? Retweet what?
Just retweet the live. You should have the tag in your profile already. I think you should be tagged.
Let's see. I see it. There we go. I'll retweet now. Live now.
Oh, we're live. We're live.
Yeah.
Hey everyone.
Hello. How are you doing?
Konbanwa.
Bonsoir tout le monde.
Buonasera, etc.
Yeah.
How many languages can you say good evening in? Thanks for having us again.
Thank you.
Of course. I mean, there's so much to talk about. So I think, a dedicated live stream was definitely needed. So yeah, thank you for being back. I love the duo.
Pleasure.
I love the duo. I love this guy.
And I love this guy. So here we go.
You know what's cool is I finally, I'm the guitar player in the work that we released. I'm also the coder. So I was a split personality. It's just me. And my partner, Jules, who sits over there, the dead can dance keyboard guy, he sits on the other side of the room over on that side. But I'm here on this corner. And I've known Tim for about a year. A bit over now, isn't it? Yeah. About a year.
It's a couple of...
2 years. 2 years. Sorry, it is 2 years.
Yeah.
Because I toured with Imogen Heap, the amazing Imogen Heap. She is a wonder of humanity, a beautiful woman, amazing thinker, brilliant musician. She's just stellar, really.
And lifter of all boats, I think, is Imogen's vibe.
She's wonderful, very positive person. I love touring with her. I spent 2 months with her in America. And she was, every night on stage, she's talking about music on the blockchain, music, about how that was going to revolutionize the music industry. She was talking about smart contracts. And when I first heard her talking about this stuff, I was like, huh? What are you talking about, you crazy woman? But she explained it so clearly. And I could begin to think, hold on a minute, this has really got serious implications for the music business. Because as I explained in the last podcast, the last live stream, the payment stream for musicians is so appalling. There's a guy called Tom Gray from a band called Gomez. He's been running a campaign called #BrokenRecord on Twitter. Check it out. And it explains all that's wrong with the music industry. And one of the big problems is the flow of money from the consumer listening to a stream on Spotify, getting to the musician at the end is so screwed up. It takes years often. A lot of it gets lost along the way. I can testify to that myself. It goes to the wrong people. Steve Jones, the wrong Steve Jones got all my royalties from Spotify for like a year. And it was like terrible. So being able to have a smart contract that understands who's made the music and what should happen to the payment at the moment it is played or sold, we're getting to the point now where we're going to split these payments to multiple wallets. And that is huge for collaborators, for musicians, for producers, for people who don't want to work. It's suddenly, you can make this work, you can put it up, and the work itself knows who needs to get paid in real time. Boom. Revolutionary, brilliant. And
absolutely.
It's super exciting, And it's just this dawn of a new era where musicians and creators can finally say, hold on a minute, I've got some control. I can find my audience. And we're starting to think of new ways to reward loyalty to consumers. People who stay with us are going to really reap the benefits over time. And Tim and I are doing a first of its kind tonight, which I'm going to let Tim explain. It's so exciting. We're all set up for it here. As you can see, I have my pedal board, my guitars, and we're going to have a really good time. And over to Tim to explain what's happening.
Right. Okay. No pressure. So I mean, so I met Stevie through so Imogen. Stevie was on top with Imogen. Imogen told Steve about Endless, which is the platform I founded, which is this live collaborative music making platform. And Stevie just piled in headlong, brought a ton of Steve energy, to Endless, and you know, kind of whipped everyone up along with him, and set up bands, and you know, made albums on Endless, etc. And you know, one of the things that we want to do at Endless, well, I mean, Endless started because basically I got fed up with making.
Talk a little bit about Endless and the concept behind it, because I think it's useful to give context.
Yes. So, I mean, I started Endless as kind of an extension of my my career as a musician, which has now basically turned into just Endless, really. So, you know, I got fed up with you know, touring and, you know, the music industry, all the same reasons, a lot of the same reasons that, you know, Steve was talking about. It's just the old school, the 20th century music industry, which we sort of inherited. We've inherited a lot of the patterns of sort of creation and consumption from last century, really. And they're very long form. They're all about, you know, producing extremely high quality products, and then going through the gatekeepers and then selling those to as many people as possible. And so there are all sorts of problems with the industry from that. I mean, the amount of work you have to put in to get to the level that you can start to even be noticed by the gatekeepers is huge. The time it takes to make music and get it released, I mean, that, you know, that's shortening these days, but kind of at the cost of there's even more noise, there's even more competition to get heard on streaming services. So, I mean, long and short, it wasn't working out for me. And my first experience as a musician was playing the violin, which was, you know, when you put your bow on the string, you don't kind of like wiggle your hand and then like send something to a distributor and a record label and then wait 6 months for it to make a noise. It's like, you know, you make a noise and you make a noise. It's real time, it's communicative, and that's always been my frame of reference for what music is. So I kind of, you know, I fell in love with electronic music. I started to do all the things that electronic musicians at the time would have to do. I learned to DJ, I learned to produce, started to get noticed by some record labels, released some 12 inches, got some radio play, built up, signed with my favorite record label, Warp Records. And then it sort of got to this point where I was like, I'm doing the wrong thing, or I'm doing this thing that I love, but I'm doing it completely the wrong way. So I started to code, basically, well, using node-based programming languages. But I built this setup for improvising electronic music, which is exactly what I wanted to do. And I tried to cut a career out of it, and it didn't. Well, you know, basically the old school music industry, which we're still inheriting a lot of, relies on repertoire, relies on catalog that people get to recognize, and when they come and see you play, they want to see you play the thing, that the record that you released maybe even 10 or 20 years ago that you've long since moved on from. So, you know, improvisation didn't really have a place in the music industry. But I've always been convinced that it absolutely has a place in culture, and music as a language, music is something that we do in real time, spontaneously, collaboratively, communicatively. It is something that we've lost. You know, before we could record sound, that's all music was. It was something that we came together to do. Yeah. So really, I wanted to bring this back, you know, firstly for myself as an artist, and then, you know, through founding Endless, to bring this to everyone and anyone. So it's a live collaborative platform. People from all over the world. I mean, it's not dissimilar to Clubhouse, but for kind of music making. So you can have these rooms, you can share the link to the room, people can all pile in the room and make music together in real time from anywhere in the world. And the way it works is you basically trade riffs. So say, you know, let's say there's something going already. There we go. So
I gotta go back. It's really hard. It's like all this. I don't know if you can see that. Is that?
Yeah.
No, probably not. It's my camera's not very good. Anyway, it's hard to explain how brilliant it is. So
I mean, the TLDR is you make these riffs and you kind of remix and add layers to and reshare these riffs in a musical conversation. And you know, the real magic of Endless is that feeling of doing things together, keeping on doing things together, and every now and again you get these magical moments. And so the big experiment that we're doing tonight is we're live streaming a jam between me and Steve, where we're going to be in an endless jam together. It's just me and him in the jam. We're streaming it to Mixcloud. We're streaming it to Twitch. But when we hit on these kind of magic moments, we're going to basically kind of mint them as NFTs on Hic et Nunc live on stream. I mean, not live, but we're going to select them. So when it really gets to something cool, we're going to select it. We're still not entirely sure exactly how we're going to decide that.
We're making history, man. You know, it's like somebody's selling. You know, if you're at a gig and somebody's recorded the gig and they're selling cassettes at the back of the hall, that's what we're doing tonight. But it's a world first. I think it's going to be very limited editions. I think we're going to do what, 25 of each, Tim? 3 highlights, 25.
3 highlights. It's
going to be cheap, right? We're going to do what, 2 tests?
2 tests.
Yeah, not getting silly with it, but it's going to be really cool, I think.
That's like it's an amazing concept, and you know, very, very forward thinking. I guess like the platform itself.
This man for you, he's very forward thinking. Yeah, I mean, I do have to step in and say Endless was a life changer for me. I don't say that lightly at all, because I had got so despondent about music. I mean, I do coding. I'm a coder as well. I love code just as much as I love, well, almost just as much as I love music. But with music, I just couldn't find a place for myself at all. I was a session guitar player, so I've recorded with some amazing people. Brian Eno and Brian. I toured with Brian Ferry and recorded with Brian Ferry. I recorded with Florence and the Machine. I recorded with Herbie Hancock once. That was cool. And various other people who you may or may not know, like Craig Armstrong, the movie composer. I do all his guitars in his films. David Holmes, I did a couple of films with him, blah, blah, blah. But I still couldn't find a place for my own music at all until I got on to Endless. And it was a very similar community spirit to what I'm seeing at Hic et Nunc. A lot of support, a lot of welcoming people in, bringing them in, finding collaborations. And I very soon met 3 guys, one in New York, one in Vancouver, and one in France. And we formed this little band called the Veltrons. So that's up. There's a website. We made an album. Tim helped us make and release a record last year. And we've got our second album is coming out soon, and it is it's like good. And it's going to be, we're going to do an NFT, like the NFT to die for that. That's going to be like an interactive road movie done with graphics by this designer. It's going to be good. Anyway,
good. Oh, also, just to add, they've never met in person.
We've never met in person. I don't even know what some of them look like. I don't even know what one of them looked like. I don't even know what he sounds like.
I was about to ask.
I've never spoken to him. You should check out theveltrons.com after this chat, because it's got a little bit of info about how this will come about. But anyway, I met these guys and we started jamming on Endless and spending nights playing and making this music, and it was just, the flow was beautiful, and like, it's such a great thing. And I do urge musicians to get on it and have a bit of a play. It's just such good fun, and I really love the speed with which you can go from meeting someone in a room to making some music and then exporting it. It allows you to export movies. That's what we'll be doing tonight. You just dump it out and people can start sharing those as their NFTs, or they can start sharing them, putting them up anywhere, you know, put them on YouTube. If you don't want to, if you're not into the NFT space, that's cool, it's fine, but make music, make creativity, and have fun, you know. That's, yeah. So it really helped me to find a voice with that. Met a lot of great people in that world. We're still all friends. We're still making music. The Veltrons is one of the nicest projects I've ever done in my life, and we're so excited for this new album. But you know, I've got to get the Fragments from the Cross thing is a big thing with my friend Jules. We're doing 5 volumes of that, and that's taking priority. Then we move on to the Veltrons project afterwards. So, but I think Tim is amazingly forward thinking. And his idea is for this Endless to become like a really fast, fluid way to make music and to put it out with nobody in the middle, no middleman, no Spotify, no nothing. You just put it out, get it out there, and don't charge crazy money, but make something back. I mean, you got to remember that even selling one NFT for one Tesla, it's the equivalent of like 1,000 or a couple of thousand Spotify streams. More than that, probably. You get 0.004 pence for a Spotify stream. So you may as well sell an NFT cheap and find your audience and get people into what you're doing. And I just think it's an amazing opportunity for people to do that. I suppose
when
one of the
did
questions.
you both
Sorry.
discover this? Like, when did you kind of both start working within like music NFTs and stuff? Like, how long has it been? I know, Steve, has it been a couple of months for you or more? Yeah.
Just about a couple of months. I mean, I have to be, if I'm very honest and open my heart to everybody, I was feeling very, very down about just pretty much everything work-wise and stuff in about early March. You know, I was just getting really brutal, like the mental strain of the whole COVID isolation thing. And like everybody's feeling, of course, it's not, you know, I'm lucky I haven't really suffered too much, but work was very dry. I didn't really have anything interesting on. I couldn't see a way to make music work. I had been recording with Jules, doing these jams every day. It was the heart of our day. We were recording in here, just making a piece every lunchtime. But we just thought, what can we do with this music? And then I tweeted Mario Klingemann about 2 months ago, I guess, maybe a bit over. He was starting to tweet about Hic et Nunc. And I was getting interested in it. I liked the minimal look of it, but it all seemed so homemade and baked. I just thought, what is this thing, you know? But I was drawn to it. I was drawn in. And I asked him, I said, look, is there any way to mint a collection of works? Because I didn't want to flood the thing with like MP4 files. That is so, I mean, like so boring, right? Nobody's going to give a monkeys about that. So I thought, is there a way for me to mint a collection of work in some way? And he went, no, well, you could mint a zip file, but it'll come up as a broken link. And I was like, oh, no, that doesn't sound very good. And then Mr. Doob dropped this SVG of like a game.
The one where
the jumpy start, jumpy dot or something. Yeah, jumpy dot.
Yeah.
And I just went, I mean, what sorcery is this? I mean, that guy's off the chart anyway, but I just went like, what is this, you know? So I had a look, and then suddenly I discovered, hold on a minute, SVGs are very sneaky things. And you can put HTML in them, and you can put scripts in them, and I went, hallelujah. The only problem was, how do we get around the issue of the file size limit? So I released Fragments from the Cross Volume 1 as an SVG, standalone SVG. Now, we got around the thing by using Amazon CloudFront to serve the audio files. That was what we did for version 1. But it was still a very compact, interactive player in an SVG file. And we released that one day before Hic et Nunc launched HTML zips. So you could upload a zip, almost like a microsite in itself. So my timing was either really brilliant or really bad. I think it was good because at that time it gave me one day where people were going, hey, what? One day of, how did you do that? And then the next day they launched, because this is what I love about Hic, right? They're launching all these different ways to get NFTs done. You're not limited to just doing a JPEG or a GIF or whatever. We've got these model viewers now. We've got HTML stuff. So when the HTML stuff came out the next day, I was like, oh man, this is nuts, right? This is going to be ballistically brilliant. So then the big problem still was, some guy was tweeting me going, yeah, this is all well and good, but the music isn't on the blockchain. The music isn't on IPFS. So, you know, can you do that next? And I was like, I know nothing about IPFS, sorry. But I started learning about it pretty quick. And I talked to the guys at Cloudflare, and I talked to people at Infura, and I talked to the people at Pinata, and I talked to everybody, and I figured out, just because Hic say you've only got 40 megs doesn't mean you've just got 40 megs. You can because IPFS is just the distributed web. When you put something up on IPFS, that just gives that file a unique identity that you can access from anywhere via its hash. You can go through any gateway. You can go through Cloudflare to that hash and it will load. You can go through Infura to that file, it will load. So if you set up your own IPFS server, as I did, you do the files, you get the hashes, and then you can load them through any gateway. It's like every server knows about these files. It is brilliant, really, you know. So we were able to have unlimited assets then. I mean, if I wanted 20 gigs of assets on IPFS, I can have it. no problem. So Fragments from the Cross Volume 2 has about 300 megs. Or no, it's not as much as that now. We did MP3 high res. I think it's about 250 or something. But it's all on the blockchain. It's all on IPFS, and it works brilliantly. And we built in the option to be able to flip gateways into the app. So if you decide that if Cloudflare get their act together and stop breaking media files, which I'm hopeful they will, because I've been talking to them about it, then you'll be able to change your gateway, which is currently defaulting to Pinata in the app. You can change it to Cloudflare, and it might be faster. And it just allows us to, means the app can be upgraded in the future. So if we get a really good gateway that we love, we can say, hey, everybody, update your gateway to this one. Anyway, that's a bit techy and boring, I suppose, but we're really. Sorry? Is it boring?
No, go ahead. No, it's not.
Sorry, I'm such a geek. Honestly, it's embarrassing.
No, I actually love this. When you were speaking, you obviously said that Hick is so like fast and adopting things, and actually, it's because like all of the community are just building onto the platform itself. So it's like people like you, people like everybody who's like commenting now, like obviously like Mario, like anybody really are like everybody's contributing. So every single idea like leads on to the next one. So it's like a constant kind of cycle of innovation, which is basically, as you said, keeps getting new things like every day or every week. Like I saw from after the live stream that they're on Saturday that they're building. Have they built the collaboration, or they built the contract?
They're looking at it. Yeah, some real smart dudes. Just a prototype. It's like genius. I mean, like, the guy's brilliant. I can't remember his name offhand. I'm embarrassed to say so, but I have been following that thread. I just haven't weighed in on it yet because it's like I'll leave that to the smart guys. Sorry.
Yeah, but it's incredible that like the community can be so involved in the building of a platform like this that really just brings value to everybody else in return. So I think that's truly special. Actually, I had a question for you both. Maybe Tim, I'll bounce it off to you first, but I was wondering, like, obviously you both come from, the music industry, like you've toured, you've done all of the, let's say, traditional kind of ways of doing music. Like, where do you think the future lies for, platforms like, for example, Spotify or, the SoundCloud?
I mean, they're not going to go away. I think, these sort of narratives that this is going to kill the entire old music industry. It's not. But I think what is happening already. I know just like personally, anecdotally. I remember when I first got on Spotify and when they first launched Discover Weekly, I was just like, this is incredible. Like I discovered so much new music through that. But it very quickly. There was an initial kind of like delivery of extra value, let's say. But then because you don't really have any relationship, there's no intimacy with the algorithm at all. So if you have an algorithm that literally just serves you up your kind of music all the time, what happens is that you just become very accustomed to your type of music. So what happens with music is years ago it started off as this kind of real boutique luxury. Now it's become a sort of then it became a sort of an everyday. Everyone could collect records, and then it became a sort of commodity. And now we're seeing it becoming a utility. And this is what the sort of big aggregators and the streaming services, etc. do. That's the end game for them. The end game is as much music as possible with zero friction, zero interaction for the cheapest possible price. And that will never go away. And that cat is out of the bag, and people will always from now on expect to be able to go like, sort of focus the focus playlist. So I just want ambient drones while I work. That commodity. That will never be decommodified or de-utilitified. But what we've lost with that is our, before the whole peer-to-peer file sharing Napster explosion that basically essentially made digital assets worth nothing intrinsically, or media assets, media that people created worth essentially nothing. Up until that point, we had a fairly sort of devotional relationship to music and culture. In that, when I was a teenager, if I was really into music, I had to like make time to tune into the John Peel show, or make time to tune into. You had to arrange your life around the culture that you were really into, and you had to make time to catch the bus into town, to read the right press, to go and listen to a bunch of records. And you had a relationship with the counter guy, the person behind the counter in the record shop, and all this stuff. This was labeled as the friction that the music industry had to get rid of. And this was like the great unleashing that happened when Soulseek and Napster and all that stuff surfaced. But and what always happens with these kind of revolutions is you get an initial delivery of value, like you can now find loads of music, or you can now really conveniently access music with one touch on your phone. But that value very quickly just sort of disappears. It becomes sort of commodified. And what we've lost is that devotional relationship to music, where if you really want the best music, you really want the best experiences, you have to lean in, and you have to find the communities and become part of the communities. And it's like the sort of the act of consumption. I mean, consumption is the wrong word, I think, but we're coming out of the end of that era of like hardcore consumerism, where it's consumerism. Consuming something is something that you have to be able to do as easily as possible, into an era where there's a much more sort of gray area. There's a bigger gray area between I guess like creation and sort of participating and sort of consuming. But I don't know, I'm beginning to lose my thread a little bit here, but
no, but
yeah.
I completely agree with this. Like, I think it's absolutely true that like because everything is so easy to access or do, that like even the pleasure of like actually finding like music that you really like, or like discovering like new artists, has become so easy that it's kind of you don't have to even do it anymore, because somebody does it for you. Like an algorithm does it for you, and then you automatically just go through to that playlist, right? It's like, okay, discover weekly songs, even though maybe you're not even like actually liking the songs, then you just get used to it, right? So like there's I completely agree with what you're saying, and I think like there's a beauty in discovering, like in actually putting the work in like discovering like new music, or discovering new artists that you really like, and appreciate that I've found this and I really enjoy it. And the beauty of like the discovery and the research is part of the end result. So like everything that you're saying, I completely resonate. I think it's very, very true.
Yeah, I think it's also, there's something to do, because you can be everywhere on the internet these days. And to tie this back into the conversation about NFTs, I find it's that picture with, it's a rabbit and a duck, like it's called the Gestalt switch, where you can see the picture both ways. And I think this whole, that I generally notice that the conversation around NFTs is very polarized. You've got people who are just like, this is the future of the music industry, and you've got people like, this is evil, like ultra capitalist, and it's going to kill us all. I mean, that's an entire kind of treatise in itself to like try and understand why it's so polarized. But I think there's definitely something about what the people like the anti crew talk about, like it's so ultra capitalist to digitally make something scarce that used to be abundant. And I think the mental model for that is like what Apple tried to do with DRM in the mid 2000s. But what was wrong with that is that they were still using this mass broadcast model, and they were just like trying to create a big walled garden. Whereas I think what we're seeing with NFTs is more like it's sort of digital personalization, in that, what I think specifically, what we're doing tonight is we are inviting anyone who wants to come and lean into our creative ritual tonight can come and lean into it, and then they can be part of that experience. And as a sort of memento of that experience, they can then collect the 3 riffs that we make, and that's not really creating scarcity or the idea. I mean, I could definitely understand, there is a way of seeing that we're just creating scarcity. Like, why don't we just like put that out on the internet? The problem is, if you just put that out for free for everyone to get it, it doesn't mean anything. So to allow people to lean into experiences, decide they want to commit to being part of this, and then kind of collect the mementos, and then maybe we're making history tonight. I don't know, and maybe in 10 years' time, like the 75 riffs are going to be trading. Well, I don't know. I mean, I suppose if in the US you're not even allowed to talk about this, but who knows where this is going to go. But the point is, like, it's valuable to have proximity to things, and then to sort of realize the value of that proximity, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in a way, like, what you're doing as well might like, as you said, like, might really be the future. Like, even for in-person events, like the possibility of basically, like, getting like certain parts of what you're listening to, like, even when you go to like live DJ sets, like some of the time, like, you're like, oh, like, I really like this, and then it kind of gets lost in whatever, like the mixing and the night and everything, and you can't really like take it away, and the creator itself, or the artist or the musician, doesn't actually have that connection as well with the audience. Well, this is like a straight like connection between you and the people who are sharing that experience with you, right?
Well, the point I would raise as well is that there's a bit of a misunderstanding. People thinking you're making this thing digitally scarce. You're not really. It's not a case of you either put it out as an NFT or you put it into the mass market. You can do both. I can make an NFT. We could put Fragments of the Cross stuff up on Spotify tomorrow. It wouldn't be a problem. And in fact, people might stream it. They might find it. They might have our NFT but it's not really very useful because they can't take it in their car. But they can get it on Spotify and stick it on their car stereo. That's fine, One does not preclude you from doing the other, and I think that's the important part. By doing the scarcity thing is neither here nor there. And actually, it's funny, the mentality of it. Like, it's the right click to save as. Yes, you can. With certain work. Good luck right clicking on Fragments of the Cross. It doesn't work. But right click to save as. Yeah, fine. Go ahead. You can take a picture of the Mona Lisa, get a really good picture of it, and put it up on your wall. But it doesn't mean you own the Mona Lisa or even a good print of it. But you can still enjoy its aesthetic. And I actually would be inclined to say, right, these files are out in the blockchain. Go knock yourself out. Go and grab them. I don't care. What I am care about is the interesting ways now that we can create something really special for people. And I am really interested in the ongoing relationship that I have with the people who are into what we are doing. And I want to make sure that as we move through the volumes, and in fact, everything I do. So I launched the short link service. Well, I sort of launched it. It's not really launched, but it is going ballistic, right? And everyone wants these short links, which are it's going to be a really cool service in the end. I don't really want to talk about it tonight. It's not about that. But the point is that I'm offering them first to people who collected Fragments from the Cross. Can line up tomorrow and say, they DM me and go, can I have one of these? I go, yeah, friends and family. You're in the family. You've collected my work. And I want to make sure that I reward the people that are loyal to us, and I want to bring them on the journey with us. And the more they do that, the more they're going to get in the future works. Now you can't do that with a limited a release on Spotify. You can't do it. It's just not possible. You can't press play on Spotify and Spotify knows that you've bought all their albums. That just doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what music NFTs can bring. And I had to write a presentation. So I can't tell you who it is, but basically I'm talking to a few really serious artists, right? And they're probably not. Some of them aren't people that many people might know, but they are legendary artists for me. Music that I grew up listening to in the 80s and 90s, like my favorite singer of all time. And I had to write them a PDF about what this stuff's all about. And the title was WTF are NFTs. So I just had to explain it in incredibly simple language. And it was a really good exercise for me, myself, to understand what I see as the value in it. And the value in it is you can learn about your audience and you can reward your audience in any way that you decide. And there may or may not be some secrets hidden in our first couple of pieces that people have yet to discover, which might be revealed later. Ta-da! So we're gonna just make sure that we are right on. We're gonna bring everybody along on the road, and I'm hoping that there'll be Easter eggs here, there, and everywhere, and that everyone's just gonna have a really good time and really good fun, and it's just gonna be a positive experience. And that has been the big difference. My entire experience of working in the music industry on the sort of streaming and distribution and music business side has been miserable. I'm not kidding you. It's just been, it's horrible, right? My entire experience of doing music NFTs and engaging directly with the people who are listening to this stuff has been glorious. I have had a brilliant time. And I'm meeting all these great artists all over the world, and I'm meeting people of all ages and all colors and all nationalities, and Brazilians in their droves, and they're brilliant and they're so energetic and I love them. And it's so cool, you know? This would never happen otherwise. So it's a gateway. Doing music NFTs, if you're patient, like nobody panic, you know, there's plenty to go around here. I would encourage musicians to think, what do you want to do? Lift the limits on your imagination. You can do anything. You've got to just find the right collaborators. We're really hoping that eventually, once we've got through the roster of stuff, I'm going to develop a kind of a player mechanism. So an artist can come to us with their music and their assets, and we can drop them in, and it'll create a really beautiful experience. But I don't want it to be like the Squarespace of music NFTs. It's not it doesn't move me, that, you know, but I do want to help people. I do want to open the door to musicians. But just at this point, I haven't got the capacity or the mental energy to do that right now. But we want to know what people want to do. We want to know, what's your idea? What can you envisage for yourself? What's your vision for your music, you know? And encourage people to think big. And yeah, you know, that's the coolest bit. Anything's possible now, you know?
I love that. And, you know, everything you said is super true. I find that, I think, like, you know, similarly, like I've done a lot of these streams of like artists as well. And it's something that, like, you know, they share as well, like the connection with the people that are actually, you know, collecting their art. And similarly, the people who are, you know, buying your music, you wouldn't have that before. Like, even more so with music, I feel like, because everything is kind of streamed on, you know, YouTube or Spotify or SoundCloud, and you don't really know who's listening directly to your music, so you can't really share that connection or build those relationships. Also, you should definitely post that what the fuck are NFTs on Twitter, because I think it would be very useful for a lot of people. I think definitely do that.
I need to depersonalize it a little bit. It was written very much for this person. Okay. But the document is nice, and it sort of talks through our Fragments of the Cross as a sort of use case. So I'll publish it as a blog post or a web page or something. I am going to share. I've learned a lot in this journey. And I do want to share stuff like at a low level, even like code that we've done, how to get around how to deal with the assets issue. How can you get more assets on? That stuff is all coming. I'm just so busy coding the next thing all the time. And I'm helping Fine NFT get ready for their fine art launch next week. So that's coming. And then, so there's a lot going on, but I really do want to share that knowledge, and I'm happy to engage with questions about that. That's why I do want to run a sort of a Discord Q&A at some point. just so that people can come along and ask questions, and maybe I'll line that up for the tail end of next week. So watch this space on Twitter, and I'll post a link and get a server set up in Discord. I'm not, you know, I'm too old for all this Clubhouse stuff.
Tim, you have a Discord with Endless, right? Like I also wonder, you know, what about your Endless community? Like, are they, you know, are you kind of trying to bring them into this space as well? Like, what's happening there?
Yeah, I think this is the hottest topic for me anyway. I mean, I really want to bring people into the space, which is how everybody refers to it. It's, you know, it's not easy, I have to say. I mean, over the last, so, you know, we're stepping out and doing this first experiment with NFTs with Endless. And for some, you know, it's deeply polarizing for some people. I mean, I think you know, one of the biggest concerns is environmental impact. But there, you know, there are people in the Endless community who are just like sorely disappointed that we're experimenting with NFTs. You know, like ideologically disappointed, in the same way that you've got like really hardcore sort of Bitcoin maximalists who are just like completely in the other direction. But I think there's definitely, you know, onboarding is a big topic. And it's not where it needs to be. It's a long way from where it needs to be now. I've actually, over the last 2 days, I've been scripting and shooting an onboarding video that's meant to be a sort of, you know, a dummy's guide, like how to get your first NFT for less than $10. And it's so complicated that I've managed to condense the script down to 6 minutes. I took all the jokes out, all the humor, and I just cut right to the point, move people through it very, very quickly. And I mean, I was hoping to upload that before the stream tonight, so hopefully some people could get onboarded. But so I think I'll probably launch it tomorrow, or, you know, put it on YouTube tomorrow. But this is a really big issue, and I think my hunch is that. Go on.
What are the like debates that you're getting? Like, I'm curious to understand, like, what are the kind of the pushbacks that, you know, you're getting from your community, aside from the environmental impact? What are some of the other arguments? Yeah,
it's just this kind of like people feel like it's just ultra capitalist, which is weird. I mean, it's so confusing.
But I mean, confusing.
You know, I understand it. If you look at it, that I think that what's really complex about blockchain technology and NFTs, and all the sort of utopian ideals behind it, is that whichever angle you come at it at, it can look either like incredibly Marxist and incredibly like Randian. It just depends on which angle you come at it from the technology. And if you come at it from a point, I mean, there's another thing that I have a hunch what's going on with a lot of kind of so-called content creators is basically creative works lost their value 20 years ago. And the whole music industry has been in turmoil. You know, the corporations have been in turmoil. The individuals making the music have been in turmoil. And we're actually just getting to the point where you've got things like Patreon, where people have just about figured out how to make a living through being creative. And I can definitely see from that crowd how this is, at least, I mean, I could certainly imagine going through a sort of cognitive journey where I'm like, okay, I've built up my Patreon now. I've got like 2,000 coming in a month, so I can cover my bills, so that's fine. And then someone comes along with a technology and says, you all that work that you've done over the last 20 years to find a way to make money out of something that is essentially worthless, we actually fixed the worthlessness problem. So, and you'd be like, I don't know. I guess I go through these like leaps trying to figure out why people are so threatened by it. Some of it, I just don't understand. I mean, but
there's also, sorry, Tim, but there's also the funny thing about Endless is that the real joy in it is in the moment. the real joy in that thing is when you're all in the room and you're making music and you're in the flow, and that's it. That's the joy. And for some people in Endless, and I can understand this to some extent, that compressing that down into a fixed entity like a track and releasing those tracks or doing anything with those tracks just seems like, well, yeah, meh. What's the point? And I do, part of me understands that, but then again, I am one who thinks that, well, actually, that's nonsense, because we've made some really good music here that can be put into a fixed entity in a track, and it still has some really good value, you know. And we've put out an album, people like the album, they listen to it and go, love that music, man. So what's not to love about that, you know? So I can understand it in Endless, in its purest form. Endless does not exist outside of Endless. But then again, people do need an outlet. They do need a way to see that their work can get out there, can like become something that people can listen to and enjoy. And I think this thing we're trying tonight, I love it. I just love the concept. Tim and I are very much big, let's just do it, you know, let's move forward. Let's just be open to things. And that's just my spirit. It's Tim's spirit. So maybe that, hopefully that sort of enthusiasm will catch on in the community. I can tell you quite beautifully that all the Veltrons, we have a little Discord private group called Veltron Mission Command, and all of my guys are on Tezos now. They're all on Hick. They're all got their wallets. They've all got their profiles. We're all good, man.
Nice.
All my band are in. Yeah. So yeah, we're on the we've
I
got
love
our bright
that.
lightsabers. We're none of these red lightsaber dark side stuff. You know, we're
nice.
We're right in it. You know.
I can share with you. Sorry, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah. Sorry.
I need to go in 2 minutes. Sorry.
Okay. There's one thing I'd really like to say about why we're doing NFTs with Endless. I think, you know, to loop back to what I was saying earlier about, you know, music as a verb rather than music as a noun. I think, you know, there's a massive oversupply problem with music these days. There is simply too much. There are too many people creating too much music for that music to be worth something, given the current way we consume music. So there's so many music creators go on this big long journey of, you know, ideation and arranging, which is quite fun, and then the rest of it is an absolute ball ache and takes a long time, and it often ends up in your music just not getting heard at all. So one of the important things that I think we're doing at Endless is to try and find a new model of success in music. And I think, you know, music as a skill rather than music as content, it could be a really good solution to that. Like being musical together and doing these events where you come together and there's some magic is really important. And, you know, one of the things, you know, we've got this, there's a really great community at Endless. But I think until now, we struggled to make a reason that we struggled to put a reason for like bigger artists coming and doing something with us. And now, you know, I've been speaking to a few artist managers about the concept of what we're doing tonight. And like, I also have like a ton of conversations with managers and artist managers and artists who want to do this, because people want to realize the value of what they do. And if you go to them and say, come and just do music together, it's fun, it's magic. And they're just like, cool, but you know, that magic needs to go somewhere. So I think this is really, you know, to make those magic moments kind of collectible as mementos is, for me, it seems like a really good way to realize that value. I hope I haven't talked Steve off stream.
No, I think he has. Well, he's joining you, right?
Sorry, I gotta shoot. I gotta go. I gotta cycle home, have some dinner, see my family, and then I come back here and then jam with Tim. But thanks so much for having us, Mikol.
Yeah, of course, of course. Tim, if you do you need to jump off, or do you want to stay on?
He can stay and entertain you, no end. So I will see everybody later, and to everybody on the Twitter.
It's at 9 p.m. right?
8 p.m. UK time.
UK time, so 9 p.m. Central time. Okay.
9 p.m. Central time, yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve.
See you in a bit, Stevie.
Oh, why is this not?
Enjoy your dinner.
No, I wanted to, like, if you have a couple of minutes, I wanted to quickly touch on what you just mentioned, because actually my next question was exactly like around, the attention that maybe, you're getting from like musicians and like artist managers, as you said, around this topic of music NFTs. Like, I'm sure you've heard that, like, all of the big like Christie's and Sotheby's have kind of come into the space. So I'm just wondering, what about like the music and the big guys like in the music, like what's happening there? Do you like, what's your take on that? And what if you can share like any conversation that you're having? I'm just gonna move away from the sun.
It's quite. I mean, it's quite nice. Quite nice lighting. I think the NFTs, like what NFTs mean for fine art, digital art, visual art, I think is much better defined than what it means for music, because in a sense the parameters of let's say the parameters of how you experience visual art are probably a bit simpler than music, and more replicable online. So I think with music NFTs, you're seeing a lot of people doing a lot more different stuff and trying things out. Steve's making really nice players, and then building a kind of a narrative. I mean, that building a narrative around the digital art that you're releasing as NFTs is definitely something that everybody has to do. But you're seeing a lot of different experiments in music. People like Jack Green did an NFT that actually transferred the publishing rights. I personally don't think that makes that much sense, because I think again the value of NFTs, it is symbolic, and I think with visual art, it's much easier to understand the importance of symbolism and sort of like, let's say, owning something symbolic.
Mm-hmm.
We have a much more, I think, culturally we just have a much stronger kind of usage model of music. It's something that we use, as what I was talking about with Spotify and streaming services, and this is what we're used to now. This is the way we're used to relating to music. So I think it's going to be a rockier road, and I definitely don't think that we're going to see. We might see a bunch of like legacy artists just uploading their catalog as NFTs and trying to sell them, and that has happened to an extent now. But I don't think that's scalable. I don't think that really provides a meaningful experience. Because what's meaningful about NFTs is, again, this sense of like symbolism, proximity, relationships, connections, serendipity, genesis. These are all the words that people are using to, like, quote unquote, add value to their NFTs. So I think that's really what the music industry will need to figure out before they can come up with a format. I mean, obviously, personally, I'm really excited about what it means for Endless, because I definitely know that the most or the value of Endless is that magic when people come together and stuff happens together, and it is serendipitous, and it's very community driven, and it's very much dependent on who's there creating, who's there listening, why they're there, how they're connected to those people. And so to then turn just those little moments, those riffs where it all came together, which symbolizes all the people that came together and all the sort of backstories that flow into that moment, for those to be collectibles. And then, I mean, if this is a success tonight, and, I am speaking to a ton of artists who have their eyes on what we're doing tonight. It could, if it goes how I want it to go, I mean, I have zero difficulty in imagining magical, crazy futures, and they're usually not quite the way it goes. But if it does go the way I imagine it going, then I can definitely imagine an ecosystem where it's like a sort of clubhouse style experience where you just drop into these rooms where people are making music and you get to know people, you build a relationship with them. Maybe you spot someone who's really talented and up and coming, and you can just like, okay, I'll drop 2 tezos on that riff, and then you can sort of follow them and be part of their journey as they grow as musicians. But the emphasis will always be on the skill rather than the content. So the content is just a memento of the interaction. I think it's similar to like the NBA Top Shots. Some of the most high some of the better selling NFTs. And again, they're magic moments.
Yeah, definitely. And anyways, it's one thing that is so kind of important in this, in the ecosystem, or, the space, as you want to call it, it's really community. What really gives value to something, whether it's, CryptoPunks or NBA Top Shots, or, other forms of projects that have, happened across time, it's really the value that the community gives it. And, something that I've experienced and I see and hear all the time is to really build on that community. And it feels like, this is something that you've done with Endless for since before, the music NFTs and Hic et Nunc. So it's it seems like it's a very kind of natural transition into music NFTs, and specifically even more in a platform like Hic et Nunc, which really nurtures that sense of community. So it seems like, I think it's a definite natural progression.
Yeah. It feels like it, and it feels exciting, the sort of energy around it. The biggest thing on my mind now is really just that journey from getting people, because right now the reality of the situation is, or the reality of the NFT market, if you like, is it's very platform based. So you have the hit community, and then you've got the sort of the Ethereum community and all those platforms, and I think the next step is really allowing artists, musicians, creators of cultural artifacts, some of whom have audiences already, to then basically onboard their audiences. And that I'm pretty sure that the flow through from existing consumers of culture, or whatever you want to call, the fan bases that musicians have or artists have, the flow through to into the NFT world is very small, just because it's kind of scary. I think Hic is great because it's environmentally friendly. The network fees are tiny. So the prices are accessible. The prices are commensurate with the kind of prices that gig goers and music lovers will pay. But still, it's scary, to go to Coinbase and get verified and take a photo of your driver's license is a big challenge.
Yeah, for sure. That's a very true point. And I guess it's also something that, I guess when you're in it, you don't really see these difficulties. But if, when people are looking at them from the outside, it's well, but, I don't even know maybe what cryptocurrencies are, or, I know about Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum, but what is Tezos? So that's a really good point, actually. And definitely true. Maybe even more true for the music industry, where it's still they're still looking at it without fully kind of understanding the concept behind it. So yeah, that's a really good point. But anyways, I think I will let you go, since I know that in an hour you have your stream coming up. So just a reminder, if you want to quickly remind everybody what time, where, and what is happening.
So in 1 hour's time, we're going to be live on Twitch. Sorry, we're going to be live at twitch.tv/endless with 3 S's FM. And we're also going to be live at mixcloud.com/live/ endless with 3 S's FM. And we will be sorry, come in. We'll be picking 3 riffs live on stream. We'll be picking 3 riffs throughout the hour of improvisation, and we will be minting them and selling them on Hiket Nunk. So yeah, please tune in. If you can follow me on Twitter, I'll be sharing all the details about it. And watch this space, because I mean we already have a few artists lined up to do these, and I think it's a very exciting beginning for collectible magical musical moments.
I love that. And I'll be posting the links to both Twitch and Mixcloud beneath this live, so everybody can just link and go to that. And I'll definitely be joining.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for your time, Tim.
Thank you.
I'll see you later on tonight. Super excited about it.
Okay, cool. See you in a bit.
See ya.
Bye.